Hey everybody, real quick, before we get into the Season 4 recap of Succession, if you need a Season 3 recap, just hit the tab in the upper right-hand corner. It'll take you right to it. Season 4 picks up a couple months after the ending of Season 3. There's a lot going on with the Roy family. Logan is planning on selling Waystar in 2 days. That's pretty stressful, as well as a very important election that's going down in 2 weeks. Although Logan thinks that his guy is going to end up winning, which will ultimately benefit him. It's also his birthday, which means a birthday party. There's a lot of people there, none of whom Logan actually wants to hang out with, and that includes cousin Greg, who ends up bringing a rando date. Carrie has to pull Greg aside and say, "Who is she?" You do know that we're in the middle of a very highly contested election. Your uncle's on the brink of a very large sale, and he's also scoping out a very sensitive acquisition, and you bring this random girl here? Are you certain she's not going to leak details right before our big board meeting? Do you know she's not a hostile corporate asset? And Greg doesn't know that. All he knows is he likes her. While he does get yelled at about bringing her, she ultimately gets to stay and stick around. 3 people who are noticeably absent from this birthday party are Logan's kids. With the failed takeover of their family's company, Shiv, Roman, and Kendall have pivoted. They're now looking to start their own media conglomerate, and they're calling it The 100. But as they're ready to make their pitch to investors, Shiv gets a phone call from Tom. After what happened, they've decided to go through a temporary separation, although it doesn't appear to be temporary at all. Tom called Shiv because while they agreed that they could see other people, there was one person that Tom saw recently that he feels like he should make Shiv aware of: Naomi Pierce. Shiv can't quite figure out why Tom is calling. It seems like he's just bragging about the fact that he's dating her brother's ex. But Tom tells her it's a social thing. It's not sexual at all. We're not dating. The only reason he's actually giving her this phone call is because he bumped into an acquaintance that Shiv knows, and he doesn't want her finding out like that. Shiv asks Tom, well, then if it's not sexual, why are you meeting with her? But Tom just says, "Take care, Shiv," and hangs up the phone. But now Shiv is wondering why exactly would Tom meet with Naomi Pierce. She storms back into the house with Kendall and Roman and starts asking Kendall if he knows anything because him and Naomi did date. And in the middle of the initial shock that Tom and Naomi might be dating, Kendall gets his answer. One of the Pierce cousins was tagged on Instagram by Greg's date, who is at Logan's birthday party. The fact that Tom was meeting with Naomi, the fact that this other Pierce cousin is at Logan's birthday party, now it's got Roman, Shiv, and Kendall wondering if their dad is trying to set up an acquisition of Pierce. That has always been Logan's white whale, and it does make a lot of sense. So they start wondering, maybe we should sneak in and take the deal. They figure out that they probably could get enough money for it. Roman seems to be the only one that wants to stick with the idea of the 100 and do their own thing, but Kendall and Shiv want to take Pierce, which is the trusted brand that people know. They feel like it's more of a sure thing, and while they don't come right out and say it, they like the idea of screwing over their dad. They put some feelers out to Nan Pierce, and she's very indecisive. She basically tells them, yeah, we are selling, we do have the parameters of a deal, but we want to lock down a deal tonight. And after a little bit of Shiv's sweet-talking, she agrees to meet with the kids, so they hop on a jet. And the kids are right. Their dad is the one who is planning on acquiring Pierce. Tom was meeting with Naomi to hammer out the details of a possible deal. After Tom got off the phone with Shiv, he headed to Logan's birthday party and updated Logan on the fact that it's looking good. The cousins want out. The parameters of the deal are set. It's looking really good for Logan. Tom's feeling so good that he gets up from the conversation with Logan and starts giving Greg a bunch of crap on Greg's rando date. This poor girl named Bridget is now getting ripped apart because her bag is big. And amazingly, in the middle of Tom ripping her apart, she walks up to Greg and says, maybe we should go. Because she stupidly had an awkward interaction with Logan where she asked him for a selfie. And she doesn't really understand why that was a big deal and why it was a breach of protocol. All it was, though, was an awkward interaction. It doesn't even seem like Logan cares because he's stressing about the deal. He asks Carrie, when is she going to call, meaning Nan Pierce. And Carrie tells him, I think she just wants to talk to her whole gang. But Logan needs to get his mind off of it, and that birthday party isn't helping, so he, along with the security guard, head out to a diner. Meanwhile, Carrie decides to do a little bit of damage control. At this point, she has no idea that the kids are flying off to go meet with Nan Pierce with the intention of snaking their dad's deal. She calls Roman and asks if they would consider a phone call with Logan. Shiv asks if Logan's apologizing, and Kendall asks if Logan actually asked for this call. And Carrie doesn't really answer either, but says, I just know he would love to hear from you. She also admits, though, that it's going to be really difficult for Logan to ask. The best she can do is probably getting him to text a request for a phone call, and that's not good enough for the kids. So after a bunch of insults to Carrie about the fact that she's sleeping with a guy probably 3 times her age, they hang up and get their minds right to hopefully acquire Pierce. After a few hours, though, back at Logan's party, people start to wonder where Logan is. He still hasn't shown back up yet. Greg, however, didn't even notice that Logan was gone because he was too busy hooking up with Bridget in the humidor. He confides in Tom about this, thinking that Tom will congratulate him, but Tom starts telling him how Logan has cameras everywhere, and he watches them every night. He convinces Greg that he's going to have to own up to this to Logan, or else Logan's never going to talk to him again. Greg thinks that Tom is messing with him, but Tom is very convincing, at least to Greg. Greg's super gullible, so he believes all of it. And now he has to figure out the right time to go approach Logan and tell him, hey, by the way, I got an HJ in your humidor. But the timing for Greg can't be worse, because Logan storms back into his party after getting word that Nan has a rival bid, and he wants to meet with his brain trust. Everybody starts trying to figure out who this rival bid is coming from, and it's Frank who's able to figure out that it's got to be the kids. Jerry wonders if the kids can even afford it, and it's Carl who points out that with the sale of Waystar, they can liquidate their shares and they would have enough money to acquire Pierce. Carl then gingerly breaks the news to Logan and also says, I don't think you have anything to worry about. You're the solid option. But Logan is worried. He storms up to Tom and says, call your wife and tell her to get her own idea. That's when Cousin Greg decides to stumble in and privately talk to Logan, telling him what happened in the humidor. And Logan actually finds it hilarious. Tom, however, does not make the phone call that Logan requested. It's hard to believe that Shiv would even answer because she's in the middle of pitching Nan Pierce on why Nan should sell to them instead of their dad. And basically the message is, our dad is going to gut your company and gut your family legacy and we'll take care of it. Nan uses this leverage to create a bidding war. She doesn't like it, but she loves it. The kids are outside on her veranda calling their financiers to figure out how much money they can get. Logan is meeting with his team to try to figure out how much money they want to offer. Initially, Logan comes in at 6, and the kids come in at 8 billion. When the initial offer goes through and Logan doesn't get the okay that he won, that's when he demands that Tom call Shiv. And Tom tries to figure out where Shiv is at, what they're offering, but neither are giving an inch, giving any information to the other side. Logan doesn't really want to lose this deal, but neither do the kids. And they come in with a really high offer of $10 billion. An offer that Roman thinks is way too much money, but it gets them Pierce. Nan agrees to it. She tells Logan's group that she's not accepting any more bids, and Logan realizes that he just lost out Pierce to his kids. Logan makes Tom call Shiv back and put him on speakerphone. And that's when he hands the phone over to Logan, who yells at the kids, "Congratulations on saying the biggest number, you morons." And all Shiv, Roman, and Kendall can do is laugh, because they know with a reaction like that, they accomplished their mission. They pissed off their dad. After the successful acquisition, Shiv heads back into the city. She heads to the apartment that she was sharing with Tom. She needed to grab some clothes, but she runs into him there. It's a really contentious conversation. Shiv hurls a bunch of insults Tom's way, but Tom handles it pretty stoically. It's clear he's taking this breakup way better than Shiv is, even though she's trying to put this tough exterior out there. Tom really wants to talk to Shiv and talk this out and explain his side of things. But Shiv has no interest in that whatsoever. She tells Tom that it just didn't work out. They gave it a go, but it's time for the two to move on. So it looks like Shiv and Tom will be headed for divorce court. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry, it'll be up in a day or two.